You're listening to Storage Nerds Podcast, where we unravel the best-kept secret of the real estate investing world, the storage industry. Join the grassroots guru in self-storage, Stacy Rossetti, in insightful discussions about finding, funding, and running these spaces, allowing you to yield the highest returns possible. Get your foot in the door on self-storage and discover how to properly purchase facilities, negotiate with sellers, and close the deal without worries. Start unpacking that investment wisdom with Stacy right now.
All right, how's everybody doing? Check in and say hi in the chat. I've been sick for the last week. I had COVID, and so we still have COVID. I still have COVID actually now, so it's been kind of like exhausting and tiring. And so I'm going to just do something super duper easy today and, not get anything too difficult because my brain can't function that well, right? So I figured we would just get into like self-storage investing 101, how to get started. I've had over the past couple of weeks, a couple of people just, comment that I haven't really talked about how to get started lately. I'm always talking about deal analysis or owner financing or something like that. So I figured this week we would just do some easy stuff, how to get started. Self-storage 101 is what we're going to do today. Okay, so that way I can let my brain rest a minute. So introduce yourself, please, in the chat. I appreciate everybody that comes on here every single week, and let everybody else know. I mean, we're all a community. Just to remind everybody, I teach every Monday. Yes, thank you. I teach every Monday, and the title of this is really how to get started in self-storage investing, how to buy your first facility in the next 90 days. But the truth is that you can't really learn how to invest in self-storage in like 1 hour. Okay, so if you're a newbie here and you haven't really gotten into self-storage investing and you're learning, just know that I'm here every Monday night and I teach for free to anybody that wants to listen. And there's a new topic every Monday night, so if you continue to come to this session, then over time it'll start clicking, right? But to actually learn how to invest in self-storage is really something that you have to work at. Okay, so I had a couple of comments about that, so I want to just point that out. A couple of people were like, you're not talking about what your title says, and it's like, okay, well, then that means I have to change my title every single week, and that's too much work, right? So the title is how to get started in self-storage investing, how to buy a self-storage facility within the next 90 days. And every Monday night, I'm going to be teaching you something about self-storage investing. Okay, so that's really kind of the big point that I wanted to point out today. And a lot of people come every Monday night, and you just come whenever you want. I do not offer replays for this session, but these sessions do become the Storage Nerds podcast. Okay, so eventually it does take, I think it takes like maybe a 3 or 4 weeks for it to become a podcast, because it takes 10 days just to edit it and stuff like this, but it'll eventually come on, and so you can always listen to it again through Storage Nerds podcast. Okay, so you can check that out as well too, and it also gets put onto my YouTube page. All right, I'm trying to grow my YouTube page, so if you could go and subscribe, that would be awesome. Not only do I have my podcast there, but we have all kinds of other stuff there as well too. We've got all kinds of different videos and training sessions on learning how to invest in self-storage. So that's another place that you can actually educate and learn how to get started on. And I teach the chat is disabled. Oh, how do I do that? I teach like every Monday night. That goes onto YouTube, and then also I do a bunch of other videos as well too, right? So it's not just this session. Okay. All right. So I am not sure how to change the chat. I guess that probably was set up. Is it working now? Try it, test it out, and say hi to me. I'm not sure. If it's not working, then I have no idea. That's probably was set up somehow in the setup, and I did not set it up. So if you do have a question, you could just do in the Q&A. Okay, Arielyn says no, it's not working. So it must have been something in the setup. So maybe go look and see why we can't do chat. All right, I'm not sure why. Let's see what else. Okay, so if you have any questions or if you want to say hi to me, then you can say hi in the Q&A. That is definitely available. People are messaging me. So if you have questions or anything like that, put it right into the Q&A. Okay, so let's get started. Before we get started, just a quick reminder that you have access to my course, which is called Super Simple Self-Storage. If you need help outside of all the free stuff that I do, then you can get the course. And the course is like over 100 videos condensed into like step-by-step instructions. First do this, then do this, then do this, okay? And so if you really want to kind of do it on your own, learn how to do it, step by step how to do it, then I highly recommend that you check out the course, which is called Super Simple Self-Storage. And you can find that on my website, which is called stacyrossetti.com. Okay, so I'm going to show that real fast, www.stacyrossetti.com. And on my website is a lot of really good information and things that everybody should be checking out. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys all knew about this. Okay, so the Storage Nerds coaching program, access to this is here. All right, so if you want to get into the coaching program, the coaching doors are going to open in September. So right now you would just get onto the wait list. And then you can talk to me in the first week of September. The doors only open for 6 days. And then whoever's interested, we can talk and see if it's a good fit for you, okay? So that's here. The online course is called Super Simple Self-Storage. So that's here. You can check that out. Here's access to my podcast. So that's available here. All of the past sessions are all here. This is also more trainings, right? And all my podcast sessions, if I've done interviews with podcasts, then they're all going here as well too. And then a whole bunch of different free trainings and stuff like that are here. This is the investor session. So if you're interested in investing with me, you can click on the investor tab and you can become a private lender, or you can invest in my fund. Right, and I pitch my fund right after this. You can go to stacyrossetti.com/fund or click on this right here, and it will take you to the login into the registration page that you can hop on to the pitch that I do every Monday night. And then here's access to REI USA. I own REI USA. It's online education platform for real estate investors. So if you want to get into real estate investing, not only in storage, but also in like Airbnb or land or rehabbing or wholesaling, whatever, this is what we teach here. Okay. And then here's information about the next boot camp coming up. Okay. So, and then I think that's it. Let me see what's behind here. Yep, that's it. Okay. And then you've been to this website before too, because this is where you register. We always have 2 sessions up, so you can register for the next 2 sessions of this webinar. And I teach something different every single Monday night. So that's available to you. Okay. So I wanted to show that to you guys now. I'm going to share my screen with the iPad, and I'm going to just get into let's see if this works. And I'm going to put my laptop down and we could just talk about storage investing, and any questions that you have, then you can ask me. Okay. All right. So everybody should see a whiteboard now. And on the whiteboard, if you can't see it, then just let me know in the Q&A. All right. Since the chat is disabled, I don't know why. So if you don't see the whiteboard, now you can ask me questions. Okay, so I want to, the point of today's session is to get you guys out and get you out looking for storage facilities where you're looking for storage facilities. So I teach, if you guys are all new, if you guys haven't been here before, then welcome. I teach in 3 sections. I teach find them, fund them, run them. So I was thinking about just kind of going over the most important points of all 3 of those sessions. Okay, that's what I was going to, all 3 of those sections is what I was going to do. Okay, so find them. And you guys can help me as well too. If you have other ways to find storage facilities, let me know. But I was going to just list out the ways that we're finding storage facilities. Now, we have, for those of you that don't know, I have 15 virtual assistants that work underneath me. And then my acquisitions manager is Chris, who's actually really training them and teaching them how to find facilities. in the market right now, I mean, essentially what we're finding is, and I'm really struggling with this right now because I feel like in the market, when you get out there and look for owners, I feel like because of the way the market is moving and how volatile the market is moving, that we should be offering kind of a higher price for our, I mean, I'm sorry, a lower price for our storage facilities, a higher cap rate, a lower price. And but what I've noticed though is that a lot of owners are not like open to that. I really want to get back to, like, you guys tell me if you think this is going to happen, but I really want to get back to pre-COVID time, because pre-COVID was I mean, I'm telling you, I would put an offer in and the owner would be willing to like negotiate with me and talk to me, you know? And I feel like the last 2 years really convoluted a lot of owners' kind of mindset on what they think their facility is worth, and they're really just pushing like super high like cap rates, right? I mean, I'm sorry, super high prices and low cap rates. So people are wanting, like, for instance, in Texas, in tertiary markets, people are really wanting like a 4 cap or a 5 cap. And you know, a 6 cap would be like a really good deal in Texas. Okay, so I feel like the point is, I feel like the market is just very volatile right now. And I feel like we're coming off of a high, but a lot of people are still reluctant to let go of those high prices. And then the investors, or me personally, I know where the market is going to go and I know where the market should be. So like, I'm only offering what I feel like, you know, the property is going to be worth in the course of 6 months or a year. But the sellers are still not thinking that, right? The sellers are still thinking that we're on this like this high selling point. So just keep in mind that. So basically the point of that is that it's rough to find people. So our VAs, what their job is to find owners that want offers. That's their job, to find owners that want offers and to make offers. That's their job. And what we're finding is that owners want offers, and we're giving them the offer based on what we feel the number is worth, but they're not really wanting to take that. All right. And so we're working with like my students right now to really get to that point where do you feel comfortable? What kind of offer do you feel comfortable with versus what does the seller feel comfortable with, right? So we're trying to work that out, and I just feel like it's still kind of like a little bit of like a headbutt. So just be aware that it's just a little bit more difficult now to find sellers that want offers and to get the right price versus what it was before, okay? But it is getting better. I'm telling you, we are making a lot of offers, like a ridiculous amount of offers. But getting that price, the right price, that's the hard part, you know? So just be aware of that and be conscious of that. So what we're doing personally right now is we are cold calling. Okay, we're just straight out cold calling. Now, I've been doing this for 5 years, and what our VAs do is just go on to Google Maps and find facilities and call them and see if they want to sell. Okay, there's a huge big difference between facilities where the owner answers the phone and the manager answers the phone. Okay, and you want to find facilities where the owners answer the phone, all right, because the manager is like a roadblock. Okay, so essentially they're just getting on Google Maps, right? This is one of the ways. We're getting on Google Maps and we're creating a list of like facilities in the area, and then we're create a list, and then we're cold calling. After they get 300 names, they start calling, and their job is to call 20 owners a day. Okay, and their job is to make one offer a week. 20 calls a day. So that's why we have so many offers right now. It's a full-time job for them to call, and then they also work the lead and they try to get all the information from the owner. Okay, but we found that this is kind of the best way, honestly, to find deals. Now, if you don't want to be the one that cold calls, then you could always hire a virtual assistant to do that. Okay. But this, I'm telling you, this is the way that I found over the last 5 years to find the best deals outside of my way, which is driving for storage. The absolute best way to find deals is to meet the owner. Meet the owner and talk to the owner. The owner wants to know, like, and trust you. All right. And I'm telling you, so for all of the 15 states that we're working right now, like when we find a good deal, we know the owner is like real, he wants an offer, but like we're trying to still come to terms with what it is. We send over the student to go and meet the owner. We send the student to go meet the owner. So my point to you is that really going and talking to the owner yourself, right? And meeting the owner is going to be one of the best ways, actually the best way, I think, to get the deal, right? So meeting owner. I know now the way that we do it is like a lot of times. Now, obviously, I live in an RV and travel full time, so it's like hard for me to meet anybody. But if they want to hop on Zoom, I'm going to hop on Zoom. Like I'm doing meetings all the time with owners. And so I say, if you are living in a different state and you're looking for facilities in another state, then please offer Zoom. Say, hey, like I'm very interested in your deal, in your facility. And I would love to I can't come there because I live in another state. Now, if we get it under contract, I'll come over there and take a look at the facility. But right now I can't. But in the meantime, I would love for you to just hop on Zoom. And like that way we could talk face to face and try to work this out because I'm very interested in your deal. I'm telling you, the owners that hop on Zoom and meet you, those are the ones that will always work with you. They always I've never met on Zoom an owner that's just like, no, I'm not taking your offer. Like the ones that will hop on Zoom are the ones that want to work with you. All right. So try to get them, either meet in person if you can, if you're looking in your area within a couple hours of a drive, or if not, then you need to hop on Zoom and introduce yourself. So like we do a lot of cold calling, but our cold calling is really just to get the foot in the door and talk to the owner. And then they really say like, okay, look, you do want an offer. We're going to work on getting you an offer. Why don't you meet Stacy in the meantime? Talk to Stacy and see if we can work this out. Right. And then from there, if we can work it out, then I bring the student in, and then the student gets to meet the owner, talk to the owner, and even go over there, drive there or fly there or whatever they have to do. Okay. And that's kind of how we're working it. I'm telling you, it's actually going really well. And I just wanted to show you kind of what we were doing to find our facilities. So I personally still love driving for storage and like talking to owners directly. But since I'm in an RV traveling, the next thing I use is Zoom. And then I have my VAs all doing cold calling just to get our foot in the door. Okay. That's kind of my thing. Now, if you guys have any other ideas about finding deals, let me know, right? Let me know what you guys think. But that's kind of what we're doing right now. Okay. Now on Google Maps, right? All you have to do is to search storage in your area, right? So you just go onto Google Maps, and then whatever area that you're interested, just search storage. All right. Google Maps is the best one. So a couple of my students and a couple of my VAs, they're using Google Earth is what they're doing. They like Google Earth better than Google Maps, but either Google Earth or Google Maps. And then, you just search nearby, storage, or you could search mini warehouses or like warehouse. See what comes up for warehouse or mini warehouse. Okay. And then after you do that, then you start making a list of everything that you find. And on the list, essentially, we're not just making a list of the name of the facility. We're making a list of the name, the address, city, state, phone number, how many reviews they have, how many stars they have, do they have a website? And then when we call them, we list out like owner or manager, who's calling, owner or manager. And another column that we do make on our contact list too, that we started to do was secondary, primary, and tertiary markets, right? So if you find a facility in a tertiary or secondary market, you want to know, you want to keep that as like, you want to know when you look at your list, because we can, like, on our sheets that we have on all of our lists, we can sort by tertiary market. Like we can sort, essentially now we can sort tertiary market owner that answered the phone, and then like all these names will come up, and then we could just call each one of those and see like if anybody's available. Or we can search secondary market owner, and then we could just call all those, right? So just be really cognitive about how you list all the facilities out that you find. So you're definitely going to want to have like some master list where you're keeping track of all the facilities that you're calling. Because the truth of the matter is that the key is in the follow-up. Okay. The key is in the follow-up. All right. You're not going to call and get something the first time. Rarely are you ever going to do that. But if you keep following up, then you'll get something. Okay. And then also another thing that's very important is what I call the hidden market. I've talked about this many times before, but the hidden market is all those facilities that are not on Google, that are not on Google Maps. All right. So not on Google Maps. All right. And these are really like very, very important. These are very important facilities, because they have not gone through the process of getting on Google business listings. Okay. And to get on Google business listings, or what is it called now? Google Business. They changed the name, so I don't know what the name is, but I'm talking about. Like Google business listing is the listing that you manage for your business, and that's what helps you to show up onto Google Maps. Okay. So if your business is not on Google Maps, and there's like millions and millions of businesses that are not on Google Maps, all right? In storage facilities, there are ridiculous amount of storage facilities that are not on Google Maps. Trying to find those is the hard part. And I do that by virtually driving for storage, all right? Virtual driving for storage, all right? And that is when you're on Google Maps, just searching around and trying to find like facilities this way, right? So you can search nearby and look for facilities, right? That are like, search Google and look for facilities, but then also look for facilities that are not on Google Maps, all right? And there's a lot of videos on YouTube that I go over this on. So you could definitely check it out there and see. But these are kind of like the VIP like facilities, because these people have not figured out how to get on Google Maps, right? All the newer facilities, they're all on Google Maps, but the ones where owners have owned them for 10, 20, 30, 40 years before Google Maps was even around, like they're not going to sit there and try to figure out how to do all that, right? So those are the really good deals to find. Okay. And those you can definitely most likely just talk to the owner. Okay. Okay. All right. So this is some of my favorite ways to find them. Does anybody have any questions on finding them? Now obviously you can like look in Facebook groups, and like you can go onto the MLS, go to Craigslist, go to LoopNet, but we don't do that. We are grassroots all the way. That's how we talk to the owner directly. We don't go on to Craigslist. We don't go to LoopNet, because that's where everybody goes. We want to talk to the owner directly, because that's where you get the best deal. Okay. So my VAs, my team, my student, this is what they do. They're talking to the owners directly. Okay. So somebody asks, have you ever felt hesitant to have a VA make the calls because you feel that you may be able to make better connection with the owner as the expert? How do you overcome that? Okay. So like I said, we have 15 VAs that are making calls every day. 20 calls times 15 is what? That's 300 calls a day that our VAs are doing. Okay. And, every day I would say they get a couple of warm leads. When they call, they get like maybe one warm lead, and then every week they get maybe one hot lead. We do warm leads, which is like, yeah, maybe one day, call me back in a month or something like that. And then we get hot leads. They're like, yeah, I'd like an offer. Send me an offer. And I'm telling you, they have no qualms. Now, like we just had one where, and really the key to getting a VA to make cold calls is training them. So your employees are only as good as you, the leader, right? So if they're not getting any deals when they're on the phone, that's because you suck at training them. That's really what it is. All right. Anybody can learn this skill. Honestly, you're calling and you're talking to people on the phone and you're connecting. And I know because I'm seeing it every day with like 15, Filipinos that are calling and making offers, so we're training them. This is one thing that I told Chris. I was like, if they're not doing well, that's because you're not training them properly. We need more training. We need to get them better on the phones, right? And it doesn't happen immediately, but I mean, it could take months for them to get better. But you have to you got to train them. It's just like teaching the students. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't expect them to know what to do. I, as the coach, I'm the one that's like held responsible for how successful my students are, right? So I have to be a better coach and a better teacher if they're not finding deals. So anyway, so I don't have any qualms with them. Now we just had one guy, and I'm sure this is very typical, and especially tertiary markets. A lot of people in tertiary markets, honestly, have never talked to anybody outside of the country. They just haven't. And so it's sometimes they just are reluctant to talk to people from outside the country, right? We had one guy right here, so we made an offer. We're working on our fourth offer right now. I made one offer and he said no. He said, I want way more than that. So we sent another offer and he said no. And then we made one more offer and I said, look, why don't we send over the student to come and meet him? And so he did. So the student went over and met the owner. And the owner was like, the owner told us on the third offer, he said, okay, now we're getting somewhere. We're getting closer to where I feel that because I think the first offer was like 600,000. And that was at like probably an 8 cap or a 7 cap. And then we got down, it's in Texas. So really it's at he really wants like a 5 cap and we're like at a 6 cap. So we're kind of in the middle right there. But, so I talked to the student. I was like, are you okay with like a 6 cap? Because this is kind of where he wants to be. And I said, go over and meet this guy and just talk to him. And so he went over and he talked to the owner. And the owner was like, oh, I'm so glad that you came over here because like I've been talking to this like Filipino on the phone, and it's kind of hard to understand what they're saying and stuff. So that really happened. I mean, but they still took our offers. He still was working with us and taking our offers. But of course, this guy had never been 20 miles outside of where he lives in the middle of Texas in a little tiny town. Like he just was one of those types of people. So to work with, and actually it's very good that he did work with this person, honestly, because I'm sure he'd never really done that before. He's like, it was really hard. He told the student, it was really hard to understand this person. He's like, but I do want to sell my property. So that's why, I'm continually working with you guys. So you have that too. All right. So I'm saying, so you can always do it better. You could always do it better. All right. That's what, but the truth is you have to you also have to do other stuff. You got to find money. You got to run your facilities. You've got all kinds of stuff to do. So you have to pick and choose. Now, maybe your skill best is negotiating contracts and talking to owners and finding facilities. And then you hire somebody to do the running part, right? And you're like, I'd rather be finding the facilities, and this person could be the boots on the ground person or whatever, But the truth of the matter is that you can't do everything. You can't do it all, right? So, because if you do it all, if you're doing it all, that means that you're over leveraging yourself, and then you're not going to be able to scale up. And owning one of these things is not going to make you rich, right? Unless you have $3 million and you can go out and buy. I have one student. She bought a facility. Well, it was 3 facilities, 630 units. She just bought it, and she bought it for $3 million, and it just got valued at $7.2 million. Okay, so like if you have a couple of $1,000,000, obviously you can like double the value, right? But if you're going to buy something for $500,000 and double the value, I mean, $1 million property is not going to like make you wealthy. All right, it's just not. All right, there's maybe a little bit of cash flow, maybe some appreciation on the back end, but like you got to have several of these. Okay, so pick and choose what you're good at so that you can scale up on the things that you're not good at. Okay, makes sense. Okay. All right. Let me see. Did I answer everybody's questions? So somebody asked, do we have scripts for cold calls? Yeah. I mean, essentially everybody in our team really kind of just does their own thing. Because, they all kind of have their own groove, but really, I mean, they're asking the same thing over and over. They're asking, do you want an offer? They're not asking, do you want to sell your facility? Because the answer is always no if you ask that. The question they're asking is, do you want an offer? So we're sending out lots of offers. All right. And some people just want an offer. We're like, it's a free offer. Just, see what your property is valued at, and some people will send the offer out and then we'll like never hear from them again. They're like, okay, that's what it's worth. Thanks. But, some people will counter back and say, no, like, I really want this. And then some people will come back and be like, wow, I didn't really think it was that much, so, so it's really just kind of like make offers, right? And that's what you want to be saying on your cold calls. What qualifies a primary versus secondary versus tertiary market? Good. Okay. So, the primary market is going to be in a major city, right? Primary market is going to be like Nashville, and even the suburbs, they're all considered like the suburbs of Nashville, Orlando, Austin, Houston, all the major cities are all primary market, and all the suburbs of the major cities are all primary market. Okay. And then secondary market, for me personally, this is how I describe secondary markets, really by population. A secondary market, now it's not population based on being a suburb of a primary market. So I say suburbs of primary markets are primary markets. But I like towns that are like 25 to 100,000 people, that are kind of like standoff, like in your city. I mean, in your state, there's always these little towns that are like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000 people, right? Those are good, like secondary markets. Okay. And just as long as it's not a suburb of a primary market. Okay. And then the tertiary market could be a suburb of a secondary market. A tertiary market could be a suburb of a secondary market, because those are really like smaller towns that are really up and coming, right? Or, and I'm sorry, I have like my throat's going out, and it's like my mouth, like COVID just makes your mouth so dry. I'm not sure why. So, but anyways, or tertiary market could just be a little tiny standalone city that's like less than 25,000 people. I'll put that down here so you guys can see. Primary, secondary, tertiary. Okay. The primary market would be like cities greater than 100,000 people. I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking like, in my mind, I'm thinking like Savannah. Like if you get into a city and you search like storage, and like all the REITs come up, like U-Haul, Extra Space, Public Storage, and all these come up, that is a primary market. If you see a lot of facilities that are like 2-story and 3-story, one building facilities and stuff, that's like primary market. Okay. Right. You can't build like a 3-story building in like a small city or something like this. Okay. I mean, typically in smaller cities, you're going to have like, smaller facilities and things like this. But like, so primary market is like big cities and suburbs of big cities. Okay. A secondary market, I would say population is 25K to 100K. Okay. And it's like standalone cities in your state. And then also, there's like no REITs. There's no REITs, or maybe like if it's like 100,000 town, there might be like, a rate in there or something like that when you get up. Like, so for instance, like we own a facility in Valdosta, Georgia, which has, I think, like 80,000 people. And there's like one Cube Smart there. Okay. So like, but that to me, that would still be considered like a secondary market. And you'll see like in secondary, like larger secondary markets that are like maybe, I would say like 75,000 to like maybe 250 or something population. I would say like maybe that's like a small, like a larger secondary market. You'll see like these like storage facility players that are not REITs, but they're like franchises or something like this, right? So like for instance, one of my students said that like a franchise like where they have facilities in like 10 states called her and asked her if she'd be willing to sell her facility. And so you'll see that like in secondary markets, you see these like franchises that own a whole bunch of different facilities, maybe along the East Coast or in the Midwest or something like that, where they have like, 100 or 200 facilities or something. And they're not REITs, right? They're not huge, big players, but they're like they're smaller, like secondary players is where they are. Okay. So just keep your eye out for that too. But you can still have like that is not bad. Like we have, for instance, like Bolt Storage, right? Is like a huge big one, or 10 Federal Storage. And they're like huge big players and like they're competition to us, right? And we're in secondary markets and tertiary markets in some places too. So like you'll still have them as competition. Okay. So smaller players, essentially, you'll see. And then the tertiary market is country. It could be less than 25,000 population, not $25,000, 25,000 population. There could be in the suburbs of secondary markets, and they can be like, or they can be country, like small towns, like in the middle of the country. Okay. So that would be primary, secondary, tertiary markets. And we own 11 facilities in secondary and tertiary markets is where we're at. And actually, that's not true. We own in the primary market too, because we bought several, like we have one in Noonan, Georgia and one in Fayetteville, Georgia, which like when we bought them, they were really kind of considered country, but now they're like not country anymore because like it's just booming. And like Fayetteville, Georgia I would consider that like a primary market. And actually, because we keep track of all of our competition, and like it's so funny. There's us, and then it used to be like little tiny smaller players around us on Fayetteville. And now like all those smaller players like us have all been bought up by REITs and stuff. So we now are like, I would consider us like for that facility, I would consider that a primary market. And then the other ones, everything else be either secondary or tertiary market. So interesting, right? So I guess because we bought that one 5 years ago, which was like, I'm telling you, nobody wanted to be in storage 5 years ago. Like storage was like, people were like, what, storage? You're crazy. And but now like of course everybody wants to do it. So that was a very good buy. Okay. That's why I said like suburbs of secondary markets. Secondary markets are good, but if you can't afford a secondary market, look at the suburbs of the secondary market, because those are also very good smaller facilities to get your foot in the door. And then over time, if you hold on to that for 5 years, I mean, those cities are always like for instance, like Augusta, Georgia used to be this little tiny city, and it's just like booming everywhere now. You know what I'm saying? So that is why I like those. Okay. And does distance from a REIT storage matter to you in areas with sprawl and primary markets? Is the point where it makes sense? Well, you just heard me talk about Fayetteville, Georgia. Fayetteville, Georgia is literally like a suburb of Atlanta. I mean, it's a suburb of Atlanta. And it used to be like, I would have considered it a secondary market, but I think over the course of the last couple of years, it's moved into a primary market. So it wasn't like there wasn't any REITs around 5 years ago in Fayetteville. There just wasn't. Like maybe in the downtown area, maybe there was like some couple of them, but like where we were, There was just like no weeds, and now it's like they're everywhere. They just came in, took over. Okay. All right. So that's the primary, second, tertiary market. All right. And we talked about finding them, right? Any other questions on finding them, put them in a chat. But now you guys all know how we find our facilities. I'm actually living in an RV right now and traveling around. All right. What I do, this is how I find storage facilities in an RV. This could be like a whole session, how I find my storage facilities and while I'm living in an RV and traveling full time. Right. But the one thing I don't like living in an RV is really just like not knowing whether or not the internet's going to be good. Now we paid for like this ridiculous internet so we can make sure we have really nice internet. But every once in a while, the internet just sucks and it's kind of annoying. That's the only thing I really don't like about living in an RV. Other than that, it's been blast because we've been traveling around and like spending time with each other and like seeing the sights and stuff. But we drive all over the country. You know what I'm saying? So you guys know now, how do I find my facilities? Driving for storage. So guess what? That's all I've been doing for the last 2 years, driving for storage. We found so many facilities. So I have one VA that works directly for me. And all she does is she follows me around my route. And I'll drive through, like we'll drive on, like, because we always go, like, we're going, like, for instance, like we just came from Glacier National Park, and we drove down to Bozeman, right? And like there's like no highway to go that way, right? It's just like it's like all back roads and stuff. And as you drive these back roads, I mean, we found so many storage facilities. Okay. So we're driving back road, like we're not on the highway. We drove from Bozeman to Custer. We're in Custer right now. We drove from Bozeman to Custer, and most of that was like Highway 90. So like we found like hardly any storage facilities during this time, but that was okay because we were like sick and I was not even in the mood anyways, right? So, but from Glacier to Bozeman, we drove the back roads, and I'm telling you, we found like it was like a 4-hour drive, and I think we found like at least 30 or 40 storage facilities. And so what I do is we're driving for storage. It's all business expense too, right? Because I'm working while I'm driving and living. So it's like you can write this off, right? So we're driving for storage. And then what I do is I use Landglide. Okay. Now you could also use either Regrid or Parcels. So we're kind of like, these are new, like Landglide was back like 5 years ago, right? So now they have Regrid and Parcel, which is kind of like newer apps, but they're basically apps on your phone. Okay. You put the app on your phone, and then it shows you who, as you're driving along, who owns that facility, right? So we'll drive the back road, and then people will be like, oh, there's a storage facility. And then I'll get onto Landglide. That I'll pull it up, like you just push like, your like this is where you're at right now, GPS button or whatever it is, and it pulls up, and then it pulls all the information for that owner. And so I take a snapshot of like the facility, take a snapshot of the Landglide information, and then I put it into a Google Drive folder, right? So I take a snapshot, and then I put it into a Google Drive, not a Google Drive, sorry, Google Photos photo, like, because all my pictures are all backed up to Google Photos. And then so it's in Google. We have an album, like me and my VA, we share an album which is called like RV Driving for Storage or whatever, Driving for Storage with Stacy or something like that. We put it into an album, and then I share that album with my VA, and then my VA is like looking the information up. And then what she does while we're driving is she checks my route to make sure I didn't miss anything. Right. So like she sees my route now from like Glacier National Park to Bozeman. And she can see where I'm at, so she can quickly just look through and make sure that, she's virtually driving for storage is what she's doing. And then she'll make sure I didn't miss any in that section and in that whole 4-hour drive. So really my virtual assistant is working just for me, monitoring my route and making sure that as I drive these backwards, she can see kind of where I've been driving and how my route is. Because we went from like Austin, we started Austin, went through New Mexico, then to Arizona, then to Southern California, and then we went to like the southern part of Utah, and then we went into Idaho, and then we went to Montana. And so she's been kind of following that whole route. And then I'll take pictures of kind of where I do snapshots. And then her job is to come in, find all the facilities along the way, put them into our sheet to keep track of them, and then start really looking up the owner information and start contacting those owners. Right. So I'm driving for storage, finding facilities as we go, and then she's managing the back office and managing my route and getting hold of the owners is how that works. Okay. And then I share this. So I share with BA, and then she does all her work. BA. Okay. And then she comes in and she starts calling the owners and trying to get them to sell and stuff. So that's just one VA by themselves works just for me doing that. So I keep her very busy actually, because we find a lot of facilities that way. I'm telling you, driving for storage for me personally is the best way. And she just started working for me. She's been getting caught up in like last month, and she's already put 2 offers in from just going through my route and following my route and stuff too. I'm telling you, a lot of people want offers. That's for sure. Like if you call and talk to owners, they want offers. Just getting to that price where y'all are both happy. That's the hard part right now. That's the part that's giving me the heartburn, because before COVID, I'd be able to call and make an offer and they'd be like, yeah, okay, let's do this. And it'd be easy. But now it's like sellers just want so much money for their damn facilities. And it's not even worth that much. We talked to one guy, he wants $1.2 million. We ran the numbers and it was worth like $600,000. I was like, I made him an offer for $600,000, and we did like some owner financing offers as well too. But and then I'm going to have one of the students go out and meet him, just to like meet him and like try to work it, but like people are just crazy with their offers right now. Okay. I see another question came up. What's the average cash flow difference between primary, secondary, and tertiary markets by paying the standard loan? Okay. Yeah. So obviously primary market is going to cost more money and the cap rate is going to be lower. Okay. Primary markets, you need like a lot of money to purchase stuff. All right. And depending on what type of a primary market it is, but I mean, if you wanted to buy something in like, Austin, Texas, like you're going to be buying something at a 4 cap or a 5 cap, but it's going to be like $5 million. Okay. But the truth is, and then also the thing is with primary market that I really honestly don't understand why people buy in primary market. Somebody explain this to me, please. But like, I don't understand why you would buy in a primary market at a 4 cap or at a 5 cap and be happy with increasing it by 1 cap rate point. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like I talked to so many owners like, yeah, we bought it at a 4 cap and we're getting it to a 5 cap. And I'm thinking like, what? Because if you go out to I'm going to tell y'all something else too, but if you go out to secondary and tertiary markets, like, I mean, you can buy stuff, let's say maybe at a 6 cap or a 7 cap, even an 8 cap. The 2 facilities I'm buying right now are 8 caps, even higher. And we're going to take them from an 8 cap to like an 18 cap, or even, it's just like ridiculous. But still, like, some people are happy with buying like super low cap rates and increasing it by 1 or 2 cap rate points. And then also, so remember I told you about the student, she bought her first facility was 275 units. Her second facility was 630 units. She bought it for $3 million. And then she just got it appraised at $7 million, not 700, $7 million, right? So when we ran the numbers, we were calculating $6 million. We thought we were going to double it, but we got it appraised at $7 million, which is crazy, right? Now that's in a secondary market. That was in a secondary market, and that was 630 units, right? And typically, so what we've learned after we went through this appraisal process is that larger facilities, I mean, I kind of already knew this anyways, but larger facilities, people will pay more money for. Right? Especially because like the company that's going to buy this is going to be like a huge company that comes in and has like 100 facilities and has the money and they're okay with, and we are selling that facility at a 6 cap. And the appraisals and the brokerage that we're working with on that facility, they were like so happy that you could like take it from a 6 cap to an 8 cap. Like they were like, nobody has a deal like this. This is like the best deal. And I'm thinking to myself, this is like every deal I have. When you go to a tertiary market or a secondary market and you go directly to the owner and find us, every deal that we have, we're taking it higher than an 8 cap. We're taking it like ridiculously high. I just, and they're like all these brokerages. That's why working with like a realtor, they just don't understand like secondary and tertiary markets. Like they're just like, I just think this, and this is a huge big firm, but they were like so ecstatic that you could put this on the market at a 6 cap and let the buyer show the buyer that you could take it to an 8 cap. And they were like, and they said there's hardly any deals like this on the market. And I was just like, this is like I was just thinking to myself, like every deal I've ever bought is like this. So, and then they also told us as well too, this is good, this is really good to know, is that everybody right now, all the bigger players want to buy in secondary and tertiary markets. Like the bigger players are saying, now just think about this. The bigger players are saying, I cannot buy in primary markets because they're oversaturated and it's too expensive. So I'm going to look in secondary and tertiary markets. And that's what the brokerage was saying, was like even bigger players are like looking in secondary and tertiary markets right now because like, but those people, the people that are buying like at those expenses, like, so what I'm saying is that you are the one that is going to talk to the owner and you're going to find awesome deals by talking to the owner. And then you're going to stabilize this property and you're going to increase the rents and get them increased. And then you're going to sell this property to like a bigger player that's interested in these types of deals and make a lot of money on it. And so it's really like flipping storage facilities. Gone are the days now where you're buying and holding on to a property for 20, 30, 10, 20, 30 years. I mean, maybe 10 years is okay, but like you can make so much more money by being the person. And this is what I told my student. I was like, you can make so much more money by being an asset manager, being the person that essentially comes in, talks to the owners, gets them to sell at like a good price, stabilizes it, increases the rates, fix it up a little bit, and then sell it to like a bigger player and make lots of money. All right. So that's my little tidbit on that. I was shocked. I was shocked that they were telling us that. So I was actually really excited. And that's what everybody, like all you guys, I'm telling you, this group right here, like you guys are listening to me for that concept. That's the concept. I get that some people want to buy and hold for years, but the truth is like nowadays you can make so much more money by selling those suckers. Let's see what else. I got one more time for one more question, then I'm going to hop onto my pitch. So make sure that you hop onto my pitch, which is at stacyrossetti.com/fund. And then you can hear about the fund as well too. How do you find the owners for the larger facilities? You find the owners the same exact way that you're like finding them that I do. Now, if you go to Google Maps and you look for a larger facility, like essentially you need to talk to the owner. So most likely a manager is going to answer the phone, and then you need to skip trace the owner. You skip trace it is what you call, right? So that's the keyword, skip trace, and you get the owner's information. You contact the owner directly. Okay. So your job is to get in touch with the owners. All right. That is your job. Anything else? Any other final questions? Anything else? I think that's good for today. I'll just kind of give you an idea of some stuff that I've been seeing in the market. All right. And I appreciate you guys hanging on. Check out my course if you're interested. Super simple self-storage. The doors to Storage Nerds open at the end of August, beginning of September. So make sure you get on the wait list, right? So you go to storagenerds.com and then get on the wait list. Okay. Or you can go to Stacy Rossetti and stacyrossetti.com and you can buy the course. Okay. If you want more help with this, if you want like step-by-step instructions and stuff, this kind of stuff that you see here is exactly what we're going over in the course. All right. Just like it's in little tiny, like 10-minute increment videos that you can watch. Okay. I did that. Yes. And I give you also in the course, you get a deal analyzer, you get some bunch of checklists and templates and stuff. So you'll be able to run numbers and things like that too. Okay. All right. I'm going to hop onto my pitch. I appreciate you guys hanging in there today, and I will see you guys next Monday. Completely new, different topic. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I'll see you guys then. All right, take care.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Storage Nerds. Hope this informative conversation inspired you to go out there and jump into this highly profitable business venture that people rarely talk about. Get more tips on storage space investing at www.stacyrossetti.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave a rating. Together, let's build that thriving passive income one storage space at a time. Until next time.